Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm James.
And welcome to the Cornwall Property Podcast, where every week we bring you the latest news, hot topics and guidance around the Cornwall property market.
Stay tuned to be informed, inspired and to have any of your property related questions answered by trusted local property professionals.
Welcome back, I'm Dan.
I'm James.
And this is episode 56 of the Cornwall Property Podcast. So thank you, as always, for those who are regular listeners and supporters of the podcast. And hello to those who are new and joining us for the first time. So this is our market update episode. And next Sunday, you will be hearing the Ask Dan and James episode as well. So thank you for all those who've been in touch.
Absolutely. And just remember, you can do that by going onto our social media platforms, as many as you guys do. That's on Instagram and Facebook. And you can also drop us an email at podcast@cl-property.com. And Dan and I are here waiting to hear what you've got to say about property, because we love it.
That's it. So let's get cracking. So James and I have picked two news articles that are in the press at the minute, out in the world of property, and we want to bring you and keep you up to date with those. And then we've picked our properties of the week. I, Dan, have chosen a commercial property that's currently empty. It's a commercial property that has opportunity to be developed and bring some more residential homes to Cornwall. As we know, there's a housing crisis in Cornwall, and we want to bring in more property to the market to help that crisis. And James has also picked a cracking property on the residential market as well. So we'll share those two. So let's get going, Mr. Baker. So my first article that I wanted to bring in, I've picked a mortgage article.
Thought I'd have a day off.
A day off, yes. For those who are regulars, we know James generally likes to do the finance articles, but I've seen this and I saw that he hadn't. So I picked this one this week. So I've gone and jumped on it because I think it's quite a good one and an important one for confidence in the market as well. So it's from the Daily Telegraph. Again, all the article links are in the show notes. If you want to have a little read and a proper full rundown of the article, you can see that from the show notes. But we're looking at mortgage rates and how they've just fallen to the lowest in almost 3 months as well, which is really positive news. The mortgage rates are going down. Not that we're down to the sort of levels we were previously, like last summer, but we are in the right direction. It's hopefully people are seeing now that we've maybe hit the peak and we're just starting to calm a little bit more as we enter into 2023. So high street lenders are slashing mortgage rates, with HSBC reducing rates on 100 of its deals by up to 0.1 percentage point. And that was on Tuesday. So Yorkshire Building Society, they also cut fixed rate mortgages by up to 0.75%. While Santander have also slashed some of their fixed rate mortgages by up to 0.59%. So again, not massive kind of percentage figures, but these are all really good signs. And as we've always said, it just takes one. As soon as one lender does this, all the rest kind of follow suit, because it's a competitive market and there's not a lot in it. So it is a great and encouraging start. So the bank, and that's Santander in this instance, the bank has also launched a new 2-year fixed deal at 4.84%.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the cheapest on the market, this is. And the borrowing costs rose dramatically after the mini budget, obviously. This was the reason all of these borrowing costs and the interest rates spiked. But it was after generally the mini budget at the end of September. And it was just the way the market had gone, with the whole inconsistency and the worry about where prices are going to go, how much higher our interest rates going to get. So the banks just kind of pulled a lot of products to cover their backsides. Obviously, with interest rates going up, they've had to follow suit. But now things are seen to start calming down a little bit, and the rates are starting to follow, which is good news. Yeah,
it's really good news. And I think we have to look at this into a bit more detail, that the lenders are there to lend. If they don't lend, then they haven't really got a business. So it's really important that they obviously watch the market and what the consumers are doing. And just adding on to that, I did see an article recently that was on the BBC actually, that was saying that with January this year so far, supply of housing is down 40% of what it was a year ago. So the lenders have also got that to contend with. Like, there's just less properties out there, along with people not borrowing money. It's like they're not going to have a business. So I think things are looking very positive on the inflation front, and you can already see that fuel is coming down, and they've only just announced this week as well that inflation has is better than what they forecast it to be. So I think things are going to start leveling up, and that was predicted anyway. But they wanted to stop people from taking loans out. That was the whole idea. So they scared everybody. They put all the rates up. People have got on hold, but now it's slowly starting to come down, which is really positive.
Exactly that. And with the less stock on the market, obviously there's less lending being required, as you rightly said. And it was one of the articles you mentioned in the last market update as well, where a lot of the mortgage lenders are now opting for remortgages as their kind of the best deals that they can get as well, because obviously they need to lend. This is their business. So it's in their interest, excuse the pun, to actually get the interest rates right. So yeah, that's good news, really good news. And I think it's only going to keep going. I can't imagine it going massively further down, but I think we've still got some more rate drops to see in the coming months.
I agree.
So the second and final one from myself is looking at Home Track report, the latest Home Track report, and it's looking at rental market figures. So obviously, us being the Cornwall Property Podcast, we're going to have a bit of a focus on the Southwest, but the Southwest remains the fourth most expensive region in the UK to rent. And this is behind the obvious ones such as London, the Southeast and the East of England, with an average rental price down in the Southwest of £983 per calendar month. So, and we're the only one out of those four actually that is under £1,000 per calendar month. Figures relating to the most recent article from Home Track with these letting, and they look their letting updates. They're looking at October as the month at which this starts. So this is looking at 9.7% increase year on year in rental values. So rents have increased 9.7% from October 21 to October 22. Now, the previous year saw an 8.7% increase. So you can imagine the rental prices, if you were renting consistently up, increasing the rent on in line with these sort of figures, that's 8.7% interest until 2021. And then you've got another 9.7% increase in the last year. So there's some big increases there, massive. And if you're a renter and you're seeing these, there's no surprises why we're struggling now. And the article keeps on going on, and the report goes on to explain this a little bit more. And it says, in the whole, the Southwest has actually seen the second highest 3-year average increase behind Wales. And this is compared to the whole of the UK and Ireland. So the Southwest region is the second highest rental increase over the last 3 years. So it's a big old jump. And the average over those 3 years, it's obviously the last two have been very big, but it was 7.1%. And Wales were only above at 7.3%. So big increases in rent. No surprises to everyone. But you've then got to think of, well, what does this mean? We've got a lot of issues, as we've already identified. The housing crisis in Cornwall. Well, people are struggling to afford rentals as it is. Well, the rental prices keep going up. Housing prices are looking like they're going to stable, maybe dip a little bit, but I don't think it's anything to be too alarmed about. But Home Track report have put the nationwide figure increases down to the prolonged period of lower net new investment, so less people entering the investment market for buy-to-lets, and together with the rationalisation of landlord portfolios such as Section 24, which I know you've answered a few questions on, asked Dan and James about, where landlords are having to pay more tax now as a result of these new legislations. It's not as an attractive proposition for investors, because if you're not a hardcore developer or portfolio landlord, then it's not as attractive to dabble in property as it was. And this is a real issue, because more investors aren't coming to the market, meaning there's less buy-to-lets. If there's less buy-to-lets, there's less private rental for people who are needing homes. Again, this is something that obviously spikes us and encourages us to do this podcast. So we're trying to encourage you guys to get involved with property. Long term, you can't lose. And you're also helping to bring property back to the market. So there's always and the article really, really interestingly goes on to say that policymakers need to better understand the rental market, as well as the forces and factors shaping the overall availability of supply. The demand of rented homes is only going to rise in the medium term, so it's important we encourage more supply from all forms of landlords, whether private individuals or large corporates. It is important that the policymakers encourage good landlords of all types and sizes to stay in the market and deliver much needed supply. Only by increasing investment in this private rented sector can we ease the affordability pressures on renters in the medium term and make more sustainable rental market. Lovely. Exactly. That is bang on exactly the reasons the things we've been drumming on about. You need to make this more encouraging, because it's always rogue landlords. It's so discouraging for people who are, they're just scams, and all the regulations and things that they're chucking in. Obviously, we want it to be regulated so that there's quality homes, but at the same time, it also puts a lot of people off. The costs, the entry fee, the worries of the actual legislation around it, it's not as attractive as it was. So, yeah, there's no surprises. But as always, I think this is a bang-on article in that we need to encourage more private rental landlords, more private rental landlords, because it brings more private rental property to the market, which helps then get people into rented accommodation. It's as simple as that. But while this these increases in taxes and things like that happening, it's just less interesting,
making it less attractive.
Attractive, that's it.
And it's not nice, is it? If you want to rent your first home, for example, and it's just it's sort of 30-40% more than what it was 5 years ago or what have you. There has to be that ceiling, and I think with the cost of living as well, it's just going to be more of a a pinch. But on a more positive note, as we always try to bring the optimism, we can see inflation that is dropping down at the moment. So let's hope that balances out. But I'd like to think with the rentals going up, I know it's not so good for the people who are renting. I totally get that, but hopefully that could be a bit of an encourager as well for landlords, that although the tax through Section 24 is harder, but if the rents are going up, then it might seem a bit more of an attractive thing.
It evens itself out in some sort.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't think I'm going to make it any easier with what I'm going to bring for my headlines as well, which is still sort of mortgage related, but I found on Mortgage Strategy a headline that said homeowners are not speaking to their mortgage advisors about energy efficiency. And that was through a MAB article that I found, as I say, on Mortgage Strategy. And it said that 1 in 10 homeowners have discussed their energy performance certificate, their EPC rating, with the Mortgage Advice Bureau. In addition to this, 64% of homeowners do not know the EPC rating of their property, which is quite scary. And those who do, only 27% do so because they want to make change with their energy efficiency improvement. So I know most of you on the show do know, but for the listeners and viewers who don't know, energy performance certificate is basically how well your property is going to perform on its energy saving. Is it all electric, is it all oil, is it green? And what's happening in the world of property at the moment is that the government are trying to encourage us to bring up the EPC rating. So you've got the worst case scenario properties, which are in your sort of like E's and F's and G's, and that's where there's literally no insulation in the property. It leaks heat like no tomorrow, and they're very expensive to run. And of course, with all that, the carbon emissions and everything like that, we're not going in a green direction. So the government is trying to put in place things for us to do to our homes so that we can increase that up to a minimum level of a C. The only problem you've got with that is that, again, if you're a landlord and you're wanting to rent out your property, a lot of people don't know is that they are trying to put into full regulation that by 2035, the EPC rating of your home is going to have to be a C. Now, in Cornwall, some of the granite properties are very, very hard to achieve that, and you can do it, but it's going to be very, very expensive. So similar to what you were just talking about, Dan, it's another off-put for landlords. Do you think like energy rating C is unachievable by then? But do you think landlords are just going to be bothered, or just think, you know what, I'm going to sell up and leave?
Yeah, and I think that from reading into the legislation, it's not black and white yet. It's still out for consultation. But I believe I read in there as well that if you can show you've spent like £10,000 trying to upgrade your property and you still can't get to a C, there may be some sort of allowance they can give that it doesn't. All right, you can have a free pass sort of thing. But at the same time, that's £10,000 to try and upgrade it. That's not a tickle, is it? Like, and if you're still struggling, that's
who's
clearly
got that?
Yeah, exactly that. And again, as you say, it is off-putting. It's disadvantage. I think, and another way, as we've mentioned in the previous podcasts, is obviously mortgage lenders are being encouraged to incentivize landlords and homeowners to get to those C's, as they'll offer better rates as well.
They're being funded by the government to try and incentivize that, because of course you're going to need your mortgage. But I think anybody will weigh up, how much will it be to get my property up to a C, because I'm going to save on a whole percent in some cases with mortgage lenders, and I think they're all going to be going in that direction. They're sort of pushing you into a corner. So basically upgrade your houses, but having the money to do so is another thing. So interesting. But I think it's quite common as well when people are looking for properties, like you don't want to be going for properties that are really, really very low. But again, as I said, it's quite difficult in Cornwall because some of them are quite low because of the structures of them. But
if you're developing, there's another opportunity there for you. It will give more value to your development, to your property, if you can get a better thermal performance, energy efficiency performance. The higher the EPC, the more valuable your property will be, and that's what renters are actually looking for, obviously, because they're paying the bills generally. So if there's a better EPC, in theory, it's going to cost less to run the place.
Absolutely. And I think it will directly affect the stock, in my view, because you've got landlords that maybe have been doing it for years and years. Not saying 80 is an old age, but you might just be at that point where you just want to kind of enjoy life, not have tenant issues and all the rest of it. And then thinking, well, we're being slammed by this legislation, and I actually can't rent my property out anymore because it's a D or an E. I haven't got the time nor the patience to upgrade it, so I'm just going to dispose of it. So you might find those properties are cheaper, and there'll be more stock coming as this regulation comes into place, because certain landlords on their life cycle are just kind of like, do you know what, I'm just going to dispose of it. So yeah, we'll have to see. On to my second headline, which I've got here, again was on mortgage strategy, was letting agents predict rise in arrears and further decline in landlords. Good Lord lettings agents predict rise in arrears and further decline in landlords actually getting payments from their tenants. Lettings professionals expect to see more landlords leave the market in 2023. Great, give them another reason. Against a backdrop of rising arrears and falling house prices, a survey by Good Lord Landlords reveals. Over half of all letting agents, 58%, believe that landlord volumes will decrease this year as rising interest rates and new regulations encourage more landlords to sell up. I wasn't trying to prime this next headline because what I've just said, but I think it's another deterrent. What do you do if you're a tenant in situ? You've been in there for 2 years ago and you could happily pay things 2 years ago. Your landlord hasn't increased the rent, which is great, but the cost of living has just become unimaginable. You've got nowhere to move to, especially in Cornwall because there's a housing crisis and there's nowhere to move to another lily pad as such. And then you start missing payments. Not good for the tenant. They get into trouble, CCJs, things like that against their credit file. And then you've got landlords who have mortgages to pay and they're not getting any rent. So, Dan, can you think of any?
It's a downward spiral, isn't it?
It is.
It's a downward spiral. Again, it's another worry and another reason why I wouldn't blame people for not getting involved. But again, it all comes back to the stress tests on day one. And you've got to just do regular comms with tenants and just see how we're getting in, like chocking in. And that's the importance of having a good agent if you're not managing yourself, which we recommend. Getting yourself a good agent. We've had a couple on the show previous, and making sure that they're doing the stress tests to allow for these increases. Can the tenant still pay it if these price increases continue? Yeah,
definitely. And I think you hit a nail on the head there with a good managing agent. And I know it can be more expensive for the landlord. Like, I don't want to put off, investors, what this show is all about, to encourage investment in Cornwall, to bring back homes. But if you are concerned about, in certain areas where you're more likely to get rent arrears for whatever reason through affordability, then there are insurance packages out there that you can put in independently on your properties, or do it through the agents, so that if you do get a void or you do get into a situation where the tenant isn't paying rent, the insurance will actually kick in after 30 days and you'll get that rent covered.
Yeah, rent guaranteed insurance, isn't it? Rent guarantee insurance.
Absolutely, that's it. So that's something to think about that you can do and worth taking out, I think, if you've got worries about that. But yeah, that's it from me.
Brilliant. No, plenty of food for thought there. But right, this brings us to the episode, the part of the show, should I say, where we identify two properties. So I've got a commercial opportunity. James is a residential opportunity. So again, if you're viewing on YouTube, you can see this in live real time. We'll flip through the advert and talk you through it. If you're listening on your audio device or your podcast channel, then that link to these properties and opportunities are in the show notes. So you can have a little look, but we'll explain them anyway. So for those of you can see, my opportunity here is a plot of land, actually, and it's in an area just outside of St Austell called High Street. Plot of land is £225,000. It's on with Stags in Truro. Again, there's a really nice aerial shot here. It's a lovely plot of land, which shows the opportunity, but it is it can be misleading as well. But I'll explain why that is. So, for those of you who can see, the plot of land is quite vast, and you're thinking, first of all, it caught my attention because I thought, oh, that's a decent sized plot, only 225. But actually, the advert shows the full site. But each advert is for both. There's two plots, basically. They're title splitting this land into two segments. And the 225 is just for half of it. And that half is identified. So if you look at the pictures and that I'm flicking through now, or if you have a little look, if you flick through to, what picture is it? Where is it? Picture number, not sure what the number is, but you can see 11. Number 11, you can see here then two detached properties, which illustrates what one plot would be. So you've got building plots 1 and 2. So yeah, just make sure that's clear. Again, do your homework. Definitely an opportunity to bring some housing to the area. Price is pretty standard, I think, from what I'm seeing with plot of land. There's outline planning permission, so it's not got full detailed plans yet. So that's a cost and something you need to do. But it might be an opportunity for if someone wants to build their own home, or if it is an investment opportunity, then it's a great opportunity for you to bring a family house. Because what I'm having spoken to people I know, they're on the housing ladder already, but they're trying to move either up the housing ladder because they've got a 3-bed, they want a 4-bed. Or they're trying to either downsize. The problem they've got is they've got nowhere to go. So there's no kind of decent, affordable 4 beds, for example, or there's not a lot of availability for slightly smaller, depending on the criteria or requirements. So it's just, although this isn't one of those kind of like entry level opportunities for a new buyer, what I think it would do is help free up some of those entry level properties for a next step kind of opportunity. So, for example, if James had a family of 3, him, his partner, and a couple of kids maybe, or 3 kids, and you want a larger property, then this could be somewhere they could call home. So it also then frees up that smaller property for the ladder to keep moving. So the whole chain of events is so important. But this is a nice opportunity. High Street's a nice area. Again, as you can see on the article, you've got a pair of elevated and fine residential building plots, outline planning permission for 2 detached dwellings, 1 with a garage, services are nearby, great views and gardens. So again, just an opportunity there that we can bring some property back to the market. Not too unrealistic, but again, you need to do your homework. Planning consultant,
big time. Get
your architect on there, because the nice thing is it's at a nice stage where you can actually design the internals. You've got outline planning that, yeah, we would allow 2 detached dwellings on this plot at this size and generally this kind of layout. Brilliant. Well, the inside configuration, you could actually make your own. So it's a nice stage to potentially get involved there.
Absolutely. Moving on to my residential property of the week, I've got a property I've spotted on Close Hill in Redruth. It's a 3-bed semi-detached property that's on with Bill Bannister. It's a complete renovation job, but I wouldn't say it's too daunting, but it's got some good features. 3 bedrooms, family bathroom, lounge and dining room, breakfast room, kitchen, cloakroom. It benefits from gas central heating, and I honestly think there's some really good value to be added here. The report goes on here to say that a Mundic test was carried out, so that was one of my first kind of flags on it really, which is also available for inspection, that it says here. So that indicates to me that I don't think it would have Mundic, because they wouldn't be allowing you to have it for inspection. They would...
they need to declare it.
No, absolutely. But as always with these types of properties, do your due diligence on it. But I think it would make a great family home. It's empty. It's relatively cheap. I think it's a very good price, and there's great value to be added. So worth having a look.
Definitely. I'm just looking at this. Is there potential to HMO it? House of multiple occupancy, because if you're looking on the floor plan now, I can see the dining room and the reception breakfast room is quite a large space. Could that all be the shared communal accommodation? And you've got the kitchen at the side. You can maybe open that wall up, make that a really nice big open plan communal area. This lounge at the front could be a bedroom. You've got then another 2 decent sized bedrooms upstairs. Could you nick a little bit off bedroom 1 to increase the size and the value of bedroom 3? That there, you've got a 4-bedroom HMO there. Again, with a 4-bedroom HMO, you don't actually have to have a license on a 4-bedroom HMO either, which means there's slightly less regulation. But my advice to you would be to still try and keep to the regulations as if it was a 5-bed, just to kind of future-proof yourself and just to cover your backside and make sure the quality's there. With regards to the sort of things I'm talking of, fire doors and all bedroom doors and things like that. So you don't have to necessarily do that for a 4-bedroom. Because it's under the license threshold. You need to have a 5-bedroom or more to require a HMO license. But with this being a 4-bed, it will be underneath. But I would recommend still trying to adhere to those HMO license regulations. But that might be another opportunity. So you could house 4 maybe local professionals, or I just think that could be another option. So you could have that as a nice family house as a rent, or if you're trying to make a bit more cash flow, it might be a better opportunity that you could HMO potentially. But my advice there is also just check the location, check what amenities are in the local area, where are your tenants likely to work. And I think it's a couple of options, but a really, really good pick actually, 120k.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is the catch?
Yeah, I would definitely ask the agents there, on a full details pack there. But yeah, it's an opportunity for sure. And yeah, take a look.
Yeah, on with Bill Bannister and based in Redruth. So again, show notes for the links to these articles. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. That is the end of today's episode. And any questions, you know where we are. But thank you ever so much for joining us.
Absolutely. And with those questions, you can get involved with us by going onto our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram, or instead you can drop us an email on podcast@cl-property.com. Either way, we love hearing from you and we will help in any way we can.
Brilliant. Well, that's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.